And ladies and gentlemen, well, playing us in a little Elvis Costello. What's so funny about peace and understanding? And we'll give Elvis a little break here and get right back and hope everybody's having a really good Tuesday, May 5th. That would be Cinco de Mayo. So happy anniversary to Mexico. And I hope everyone locally is managing to enjoy a little, a little Modelo or Pacifico or, just about anything counts on Cinco de Mayo, doesn't it? And before we get started today, there's a few things I want to just kind of run by. I had gotten a video from Ada Briseno and I couldn't download an MP4, but I'll have it for you tomorrow. And also one looks like maybe Monday or Tuesday, we'll be interviewing Jason Byers from District 47. And he's an interesting small businessman. I'd like to hear more about his plans for affordability. And he's been good enough to chat with us. And we will keep you posted, excuse me, as the exact date, because you will want to wake the kids, phone the neighbors, and do nothing but tune in while we chat with Jason. And seeing as how it's Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo, I just kind of, it's a magic number to me, Cinco de Mayo. And you can't escape the haphazard way that the government is being run. And like the guy says about the fish, it rots from the head down. And it looks to me as though there's a severe cognitive decline going on, not to mention the physical decline. And to be honest with you, I just think they owe us better than this. Of course, it has to be so 1984ish that the administration that pledges full transparency is actually the least transparent. It really is a perverted way of looking at things, much like construing every little thing as a major threat when it's not. They're threats and they're not threats. The whole Jim Comey thing, 86-47 with seashells. I mean, and then and then you have the nerve to tell us it's not vindictive. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a clearly one of the times that try men's souls. But the perversity going on in DC is just stunning. I'll kind of just start briefly on what's going on in Iran. Call it a war, call it whatever it is. I call it just an abomination. So many people gotten killed and so much destruction for essentially nothing. It didn't have to be. And every time he who is orange tinged and absent intelligence, says something that would have other people, in the insane asylum for a long time, had Reagan not closed those and got subsidized housing at the same time, which was, and will forever be the root cause of homelessness. So anyway, do you guys, does anybody take a look at a different perspective? Maybe, like I say, my favorite's the Financial Times. But does anyone, kind of look around and see what's going on? Or can you feel it's that everything is so haphazard and without a plan? It's whatever, he who is orange tinged and absent intelligence feels like on a whim. And, I want to take a quick word about decision making. And there's generally two ways you can make a decision. You can either make it based on the facts, based on the evidence in front of you, based using your head, or you can make an emotional decision based on your gut. And there's a legal thing about judges and gastronomic justice. If the judge had a good breakfast, he might get off kind of easy. If he had a lousy breakfast, he might just throw the book at you. So that's a little gastronomic justice. And excuse me, when you don't take information in, or let's say you do take it in and you can't process it well or clearly, um, it's time. That's a sign. You need to, quit telling us that you were able to distinguish the difference between a donkey and an elephant on your cognitive test that you aced 3 times. I mean, I'm just gonna call it out. After a while, it's just stop the bullshit. Just stop it. Can you guys actually do that? That's a really good challenge. I challenge, some election denier to tell me how in 60 times to present evidence, not present a case, but just to present evidence of voter fraud in 2020, that courts said no. You don't even have evidence. We can't. There's nothing to hear. You get a bunch of allegations, but you didn't prove them. Okay, did you? You guys get that? Allegations without proof are, and I'm going to use a word I don't really use a whole lot, and I should have cleaned it up a little before. But anyway, it's just bullskate, you know. It's just, and we don't like being bullskated. Okay, everybody sees it, everybody senses it, everybody knows it. Your ratings are down the tubes. They're like, I don't know, underwater. And we all know you don't really want to go underwater because some of the orange tinge might come off and, kind of give away the secret. But I digress. Like I said, the blatant hypocrisy is just stunning. And when you think about what could have been, Kamala told us she would come in with a to-do list. She told us that Donald Trump would come in with a retribution list. Now, who told the truth? I think Kamala. And, there was just, I'll be the first one to admit that the transition from Joe to Kamala was a little awkward. But I would mention that every time somebody voted for Biden in the primary, it was essentially a vote for Biden Harris. So, there was some continuity. It wasn't a perfect solution. It was the best that could be done under the circumstances. Would have outright convention been better? Maybe yeah, maybe no. Who knows? But I think she was the clearest, safest bet the Democrats had. And she told, she told you the guy was crazy. She told you, and here's what it comes down to. America had a choice between a really, intelligent, smart woman and a monster. And America chose the monster. Now, I'm sure the monster is much more entertaining on some visceral level. That's visceral, like gut level. But it's just not, it's not the most effective way to solve the problem. And the problem we were solving was our current president's term is up. Who do we want to be our next head of state? Simple question. Regrettably, there were two choices that kind of mattered, and the orange-tinged subhuman being in the White House managed to convince. Now, and I say convince. Now, the level of convincing that's done here is analogous to like those old Western movies and TV shows where the guy pulls into town in his covered wagon, and he's got the little medicine bag, and he's got his little rheumatism medicine in the bag, and it's and it's just nothing but snake oil, right? And it's guaranteed to cure your ills. Dr. Brown can cure your ills, right? And if people believed hard enough, it might just do that. But most of the time, it's the mutton dresses lamb thing. It just lipstick on a pig. You just can't do this. He's taking your vote. He's treating you with contempt. And let's say, how do we know he's treating the American public with contempt? I always say actions speak louder than words. And what, 60 something percent of the country is against the war, 60% of the country is against his handling the economy. And what does he do? Oh, come in. What does he do? He doubles down on a lie. And all that does is stonewalls the situation and puts off the day of reckoning. And each day that day of reckoning is put off, it gives Trump another chance to do even more damage. So, but yeah, so tell me, guys, give us a call, 949-629-3820, and share your thoughts with us. We're kind of curious as things seem to be coming to a somewhat of a head. And, at the very least, the Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz will be a problem for a long time. And the reason it's going to be a problem for a long time is Iran wants it to be a problem for a long time, and Trump doesn't want it to be a problem for a long time. And in that situation, I think Iran wins. Just wait till they start coming after our ships with fiber optic drones. I mean, that old poopy dude is going to hit the fan in a major way. And not only that, but there's still a little kind of mystery going on in Venezuela. Like, we really don't know what's going on down there. And Cuba, why are those people suffering? Why are we making those people suffer? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not human, you won't be respected. And that's, all he does is invite contempt for the country, for the world. And my conclusion is Trump's retribution is against 340 something million Americans, because he doesn't hold it against any one or two people that in government that came after him. He holds it against everybody that the government came after him. I mean, and by the way, isn't that kind of what they call paranoia? When you think people are after you, when you think every little thing is a threat. If there's a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or someone with knowledge like that, give us a call, 949-629-3820. We'd be really curious to hear how you would just how you interpret what's going on. I mean, it's democracyradionetwork.com. Abbie Kaufman here, your somewhat semi-savvy, politically minded host, and a little tribute to old Uncle Ab. How you doing, old pal? So changing gears just a second. I am, as you can tell, here at my secret location on Newport Harbor in Newport Beach, California. And while I will pontificate a little bit, I am clearly looking forward to the phone calls. But I do want to give a shout out to, you won't believe this, but I'd like to give a shout out to Anna in the Sprouts Deli Department on 17th Street in Costa Mesa, California. And she'd had an unfortunate, incident. She'd had a pet pass, and she was just devastated. And I ordered my usual veggie sandwich, and you could tell this thing was just made with blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, this was just, the best veggie sandwich I've ever had there, and I've had lots of them. So Anna, thanks you. I won't starve with you. And I've got to tell you guys straight away, I am violating my own personal rule, but I'm doing it for you. And I had a little personal rule about not drinking the coffee too early. So I don't want to, I want to peak. I want to hang in there as long as I can for you. Now, if you see things otherwise, give me a call. Let me know. That's Abbie Kaufman, 949-629-3820, democracyradionetwork.com. And, like I said, let us know. I mean, I don't recall how much it was, but it seems like in the last week or so, gasoline or premium gasoline has gone from like $6.50-ish to maybe close to $7 a gallon. And I know that's Orange County, California, But my brother in like Flotvilla, Georgia, near Macon, Georgia, tells me regular was like 4 and a quarter. Can you imagine? I mean, that's my $100 Phillips are now $135. Am I happy about that? Clearly, no. I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, but the truth of the matter is, you were presented with different scenarios, and this is you orange tinged, subhuman being in this absolute intelligence. You were shown options. They probably look like comic books with little colors drawn into the countries. And I bet you don't even know the names. You could name the countries. I will bet you my bottom dollar that you subhuman, orange tinged, absent intelligence creature in the White House, I will bet you that you could not name all the Middle Eastern countries that you were briefed on and chose the worst option. And by the worst option, you chose the highest risk option with the lowest chance of winning. Yeah, you can bomb these people to the Stone Age. They just rebuild. They've been here 5,000 years, Don, or Conald, or whatever you want us to call you. You know, Grifter in chief. It's just amazing. And another thing, I think there needs to be some sort of Jello award shaped in the shape of a human spine to be given to Republicans as a parting gift on the way out, because I just I just heard an advocate for the orange tinged subhuman creature in the White House saying that, oh, why don't the taxpayers pay for that new ballroom? I mean, it's only what, $400 million, and it's for the country. It's for the good of the country. I shouldn't have to pay for that, even though I already have $400 million that people gave me. I'm going to keep that 400 mil, and I'm going to charge the country another 400 mil. Do you guys see this? I'm kind of hoping everybody does. I say give us a call, 949-629-3820. Let me know how you defend this guy. Yeah, just kind of give me a clue. What is he, a financial genius, a financial wizard? Now, I will, and you guys have heard this, it does take a special type of person to bankrupt a casino. And, usually those kind of people, you would expect more out of a Wharton graduate. And, I don't, those things are still in dispute. God only knows what his grades were. We know he couldn't get in through the front door. He had to transfer from Cornell. But, when you have bone spurs to the degree he had bone spurs, he was lucky to get in anyway. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't let him in on a disability thing. I mean, shouldn't they? If he's too crippled to serve in war for his country, and then because of bone spurs, then maybe that's like a serious disability. And, maybe he was, should have gotten preferential treatment, huh? Oh, you just, if you got bone spurs, you got bone spurs, and you probably shouldn't, be walking around, whether it's in an army boot or in a, whatever you used to wear before Florsheim, if there was ever anything before Florsheim. I think Florsheim was old when my granddad was old. Anyway, I'll try not to keep railing against this, but I swear the level of incompetency, hypocrisy, and deception and theft are on a scale no one can imagine. I mean, you have to be a real criminal to think of all these ways to scam people out of money. And by the way, scamming people out of money, isn't that like another kind of genteel word for stealing? Now, when you offer your Bible for $60 with what does it have? A copy of the Declaration of Constitution in it? Probably the Constitution, knowing you. Uh, yeah, you just gotta laugh at it. $60 for the low price of a Trump Bible. But you might not be the Bible reading type. Let's suppose you're the I don't know, guitar picking type. And, you might want to relax after a hard, period studying for Trump University. You might just want to pick up that old Gibson Trump guitar that's just coincidentally made in China to look exactly like a Gibson Les Paul, while being a Trump exclusive. Now, I bet those things ain't exactly skyrocketing in value, if you know what I mean. I think their limited audience is dwindling rapidly. At least that's the vibe I get out here in Orange County. And Orange County is traditionally a really conservative place. Reagan wasn't far away. Richard Nixon, Pete Wilson. It's just, but it's also a kind of a beacon of hope with Jerry Brown and Pat Brown. And if nobody's ever done it, there's a guy from the LA Times who wrote a biography of Jerry Brown. And I'm going to tell you, if you took the time to actually read that, you would know that he was the farthest thing from a liberal you could ever imagine. The truth about some things, can be fixed with the law. Some things can't be fixed with the law. And sometimes things that can be fixed by the law would be better off not having a law. So he was a really conservative guy. And, everyone paint him as like Governor Moonbeam and going to Africa with Linda Ronstadt. And, is there anything really wrong with that? I don't think so. I would wager that Jerry Brown never took a dime he wanted authorized to from the government. As liberal as he was, it would never have occurred to him to sue the IRS for $10 billion for leaking, something a tax return, right? The honesty that we had before Trump was, legendary. You had people actually devoted to, I'm not going to say God and country, but at least devoted to serving the country. And now it's just a free for all. What can I get? What's in it for me? Is Christine Holmes still in that really nice Coast Guard commander's place? And why? Why? She's like unemployed. And if that kind of housing is up for grabs, I'd kind of like to be next in line. I wouldn't mind that. My employment level is the democracyradionetwork.com. And I'd like to invite everybody to give us a call at 949-629-3820 and let us know what's going on in how much was your last fill up. Or if you're the kind of person that does so well, you don't really need to think about it, then go to the homepage, democracyradionetwork.com, and smash. Did I say? I didn't say smash. I said smash that PayPal donate button and send us a little something. Our old app needs a little car work done. So anyway, give us a call, 949-629-3820. Okay, maybe now I'll try to get like a little more into the to what's going on lately. I'm not going to beat the Iran thing to death. You guys get it. And just out of curiosity, what do you think? Are we winning? Are we losing? Are we at war? Are we not at war? And when the head guy doesn't, when the government lies to you about this stuff, on what's really bad is on top of it lying, is it makes you take that extra step of finding out, well, if they're lying, what's the truth? And isn't that the whole purpose of shows like this, is we want to show people in their true light. I personally aim for Democrats that have, pretty high self-esteem, self-integrity. The people I go to or chat with are usually, well endorsed by people I respect. And, I make some effort to make sure there's some sort of quality that my guests can impart, that, you guys might enjoy. I don't, I'm clearly not here to advocate for, every person that asks, but with what's going on, we can't afford to split votes in any way. I on some level, I get it that the Democratic Party is not particularly highly thought of either. And I mean, I kind of understand why, but I think it's a little misplaced. I think that, it's, we are the alternative, and we are better. We've proven we're better. We have better leaders. We have better ideas, and we know how to get it done. They always say the Republicans are good at winning elections and horrible at governing, and you would have to agree with that. Tell me what has the administration done to help you? To quote Ronald Reagan, "Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago?" I don't hear a flood of calls coming in, if you can believe it. Huh. From that, you would just kind of have to conclude that there just might not be anything good going on, and that only bad stuff has happened to America under Trump. And I think that statement could not be any more true. And my biggest evidence of that is our bonds. People aren't buying our bonds like they used to. Japan and China are the largest holders of our bonds. What if they said we don't want any more, or started dumping them just in the middle and what is it, midnight? It'd be midnight here, and they'd be trading and selling. We could wake up to find just a complete panic, but for the few people that have international offices to keep up with us, and by that time you're already wiped out. So again, tell me what he's done. I said, "Oh, has he expanded markets? Are those Chinese going back to the farmers and saying, 'Oh, we made a mistake. We do want your grain,' or they're just saying, 'F you, we moved on'?" I think they've said, "F you, we've moved on." And if that's true, which undoubtedly it is, that leaves the orange-tinged subhuman being in the White House uh, to say that you just can't do that. Yeah, it's just it really is infuriating. So anyway, but anyway, Democrats are the better party. We are the alternative. Are we? And nobody is campaigning on sainthood. This isn't about sainthood. This is about some degree of honesty and some degree of patriotism. Isn't that what service to country is all about? Is patriotism, as showing your gratitude to a country for whatever reason. And our country in the United States is the privilege of being born more or less free. You would have to kind of question that going forward, but initially we all have a lot going for us. We probably have more opportunity here than lots of other places. Now the competition is awfully stiff in everything, and that kind of leads to something else, which is people aren't leaving their jobs. They're not moving to higher to better positions. They're not retiring. They are hunkering down to keep their job. That's all they want to do is keep their job. And at that point, there's no real social mobility, no kind of lubricant for society to function on. And sometimes you just have to watch out for what you want. We all yeah. Anyway, every person I talked to, every Republican, oh, we wanted to change. Biden was so horrible, the Biden crime family. And my thought is, have you not seen what's going on? And the answer is they may not. There's such a, I mean, I know older people whose TVs are either on a movie of some sort or Fox News. And I really wish they changed that name and call it Fox Entertainment. Uh, they're just, and as in the bag as they are for Republicans, it's my goal here at Democracy Radio Network to be that in the bag for Democrats. I think we are here to help every Democrat we can get elected. And I don't care if, and even if it's not dog catcher, not assistant dog catcher, but right down to the assistant dog catcher is how badly I want to help Democrats win every single election. I just think it's an all hands on deck drill. Our economy is clearly getting shafted with market losses and misbegotten adventures in the Middle East. And why did you do this? I didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Well, neither did we. We kind of want the same thing on this, but so why didn't you already obliterate them? Huh? I didn't hear you. Didn't you already obliterate them? Donald. Whoa, Donald. Didn't you already obliterate them? Okay, well, let's say you didn't necessarily obliterate them. What'd you do? Well, we kind of buried it under a bunch of stuff. But, we can dig it out. And you're like, thank you, but we can dig the stuff out. And, it's just, it's time we just started calling this stuff out. Bullshito is bullshito is bullshito, no matter who does it or why. And I do think that we're kind of missing something, not being on the same page as to what constitutes reasonable behavior. I mean, well, can't imagine. Trump's always been so weird. I never thought he did anything normal. When Joe Biden said he had the morals of an alley cat, it's such a quaint old expression. And if you've ever seen an alley cat, had any inkling of what an alley cat's life might be like, you wouldn't necessarily appreciate that comparison. But what did America do? Huh? Did you want somebody with the morals of an alley cat? And if you did, why? Did you think the person with the morals of an alley cat would do a better job? Did you think the person with the morals of an alley cat would be slightly more honest? I'm just so curious here. I would never have made that connection. So if someone can help me connect those dots, I'd be grateful to you. We just that's one that keeps me up at night. And now I'm gonna jump ahead here. Oh, this, how about this? Africa's had a hunger problem for ages, right? And massive corruption. Let's be honest about this. Lots of the aid that is sent there doesn't necessarily get to where it should go. And once it start passing through hands and people start taking their cut and charge a little more, and well, you kind of see what happens with all that. So what do the Russians do? The Russians advertise in
poor African nations, come for an office job, we will pay you well. And they go, really? I can eat? Russia goes, yeah, we'll pay you well, you eat. So guess what happens? Yeah, as soon as the Kenyans could pack up, they are on the way to Russia. Now, somewhere along the line, it probably doesn't happen until like after they're maybe over Siberia, or maybe after they landed in Siberia. They tell these Africans that, oops, you're really here to fight in this Ukrainian war we have going on. And Africans like, huh? Homie, don't play that. We don't, no. We didn't come here to be soldiers. We came here to, do work and make money and send money back home. And Rush goes, no, I don't think you understand. You're here now, and you're here to fight for us. If you don't want to fight for us, tell us, and we'll just cut your nuts off right here and let you bleed to death. So there ain't a whole lot of options under those circumstances, right, guys? So the Africans find themselves with the testicles still attached, but somewhere between Moscow and Siberia and Ukraine, in a war that that's just nauseated the world, and we caused a lot of the nausea. We did not step in nearly as forcefully as we should have or could have. Even though I do understand Biden's concern about, forcing World War III or forcing a major conflict over a relatively minor league country. And I mean, Ukraine has had independent borders, every right to have those borders respected. But I'm just speculating as to what some of the calculations that Biden went through. And there's some pretty sharp guys at the Brookings Institute, and you can rest assured those guys weigh in on policy decisions daily. At least they did on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, now you've got someone who doesn't really care about the facts. And, you might go so far as to say, when presented with the facts in those daily briefings, that they're ignored. Or not that they're ignored, that he ignores them. And I'm hardly an English major or anything, but when you ignore stuff, doesn't that kind of make you ignorant? And I kind of think that's true. And if that's true, then why do you insist on doing it? Why do you insist on being an ignorant fool? And I can answer that because he's superior to everybody else. He has this innate ability to know right from wrong, good from bad. And if you don't think that's true, then F you, right? And I think what we're seeing now as the world finally saying back, yeah, well, F you, President, orange tin subhuman being in the White House. Gosh. So anyway, the Africans, all they want to do is eat. Well, they probably want to eat and leave Africa, but I don't think they want to trade, Kenya for Siberia, with or without a gun, with or without decent equipment. How about clothes? You think those guys get really nice jackets? Or I think they just let them freeze to death and import more. I think we wouldn't be surprised if they just gave them lousy equipment and set them off. And, I can't let this go without passing. The U.S. has been duplicitous in a few instances, too. One of the most heartbreaking I can think of was when America was, was on a campaign of genocide against American Indians or Native Americans when they settled the West. Wiping a group of people off the face of the earth is not a good idea, right? But between all the wars and stuff, what will we do? We would trade with the Indians, and we might trade, I don't know, guns and whiskey for whatever. And what if they did the Native Americans traded with us, in anticipation of wars or self-defense or something. So imagine their surprise when they get back to the village and they find that the guns are defective and the whiskey makes them go blind. The Native Americans had approached us in good faith. We gave them garbage. So it's not like the U.S. is completely clean throughout history. I am so shocked that, I mean, if I think the black people get reparations for slavery, which they clearly should, I think the Native Americans are due reparations also. When you drive across the country like I do, you'll see a cajillion Native American named towns and cities, and you wonder where they went, what happened to them. Did they just disappear and join Elon Musk and colonizing Mars or something? And the answer is no. The Native Americans we didn't kill, we relegated to reservations. And while they have some autonomy in those reservations, God knows they paid a high price for it. And and we did it. So I can only hope there's at some point a South Africa style Truth and Reconciliation Committee, and let's right what wrongs we can, and let's march into the future, because there is a future after that orange tinged subhuman being in the White House leaves. Now, I mean, there's debate about all this. And, why doesn't the media call him out on this? If he says, well, I'm going to be in the White House for another 89 years, how about just, sir, that's unconstitutional. Just say it. Sir, that's unconstitutional. Start calling a guy a liar to his face on national TV. I mean, it's not like it's not we don't know. Just say, sir, that's not true. I mean, I might not call the president, a lying SOB, but that's kind of what he is. And he does it because he can get away with it, because not a whole lot of people will challenge the president of the United States, especially this one. And inevitably, those are the guys that need to be brought down hardest and first. So let's, so by way of circular reasoning, that's why we're here. DemocracyRadioNetwork.com is here to elect Democrats, and more Democrats, all the way down to the assistant dog catcher, and all the way up to, in this go around Senate and next time the presidency. And why? Because if we don't roll those Republicans are going to roll us. And, we've already had health insurance we can't afford. We've already had clinics taken away. We've already had food taken away from our children with the decrease in the food SNAP benefits. And I'm still a little puzzled that, I'm hardly a religious scholar, but how this is any sort of Christianity, I'll never know. Honestly, I don't, I have my personal thoughts about all this, but I just don't think that Jesus, I think Jesus kind of said stuff like, oh, I don't know, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, help the oppressed. I mean, I'm just a little unsure, how their policies square with the Christianity, with the Christian religion that they're trying so hard to hide behind. Again, it's just perverse. Lying to the and the preacher lies. All bets are off then. And by the way, who was that woman preacher who said something like, Jesus Christ had to die so Donald Trump could be rose or risen or whatever it is. And, I don't, whenever people tell me Jesus died on the cross for my sins, I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. I really wasn't there. But my suspicion, just wild guess, is that he kind of died because he pissed off some old Roman guy, you know? And, yeah, and trust me, I didn't have anything to do with it. But that's kind of what you're up against. So, and with that in mind, how do you expect, the on-chain subhuman being to process that? Well, I think he's going to process that kind of like those pictures, the AI drawings he did on was it Easter, where it was equal parts blasphemy and profane. Um, you know, I'm telling you guys, you ignore this. I'm addressing the Republicans out there. You guys are just, you're ignoring this at your own peril. It's bad enough you can get wiped out in 2026 and 2028, but you guys could be wiped out for 50 years. The Supreme Court has got to be term limited. Then it's just insane to concentrate that much power and to effectively rule according to the result and not to what the law is or says. And the reason we have such a reputable legal system is because we have we have inherited the English system, and in the English system, you have a judiciary, you have people that weigh facts and and come up with answers. This is true, this is not true. And you got just you don't have to be a genius to put these things under a microscope. If you think January 6th was really a peaceful tour through the White House, then I think that's delusional. If you believe that it was a nice, quiet tour after seeing the tapes, then see, that makes you a dumbass. That's when you cross the line from being just delusional to being a delusional dumbass. Because again, you can't process the facts. You can't process the evidence. You do not have an objective way of looking at things. God, gosh, you kind of made me talk more than I should. But anyway, I digress. Abbie Kaufman here. Give us a call 949-629-3820 and let us know what's going on with you. I went to, another place I ought to give a shout out to is Pizza de Oro on Baker Street in Costa Mesa. And the reason those guys get a shout out is they have nightly dinner specials. And on Wednesday night, as you can eat spaghetti night, and I think it's like $8.65 or something. It's spaghetti and salad and garlic bread. And I think that's a really nice option. So, and like I said, I kind of went there last Wednesday, and I don't think I ate what I took home till like Friday. And I'm not really into amortizing my meals, but let's say it's well worth whatever I paid for it. And if you're into eggplant parmesan sandwiches, they do the best eggplant parmesan sandwich, and they like get the bread to the right edgy point of being crisp to burned. So if you go there, tell Andrew and the guys that Ab said hello, and tell them to slip you an extra piece of that garlic bread, huh? No, just kidding. Don't do that. They're fine people, and they're more than generous as it is. Okay, guys. So like I said, I want to hear what's important to you. This was a great headline. Trump is coming to a Beijing that has moved on. Okay. So she kind of looked around and says, you're an idiot. We're moving on. Look what you did to us with tariffs and all that. And just F you, you need us more than we need you. And Trump's thinking, no, you need us. And she just goes, no, we don't. Watch. So, so Beijing, China, in the relationship, there was a breakup, there was a fight, and one person moved on and one person didn't. And the person that's moved on has moved on to what? New horizons. What's the other guy doing? He's left chasing what was. And what was will never be again. You misplayed that hand too, pal. And every time I think about what you advance, your treatment of Zelensky in the Oval Office, that that treatment. Truth of the matter is, you guys, that would be too good for you. The way you guys deserve to be yelled at would pale in comparison to what you did to Zelensky. I really wish we would have jumped in a little hard at the beginning, and I understand Biden's considerations, and I really think that he was trying to avoid an even greater harm or greater wrong. And God only knows what information he had. You would have to think that everybody gave Russia the hugest advantage going in. But now, you kind of hear bits and pieces about a ceasefire and all that. And if that's true, how long does it last? There's another headline about Putin's getting a little afraid of being assassinated or having the military stage a coup and just, lock him up. So he's been kind of hunkering kind of low, and but he's still in the country, still calling the shots. You would have to believe. But another real question surrounding that orange tinged human being is how exactly are people like Stephen Miller and those guys how are they getting Trump's signature? Do they even ask, or do they just kind of feel like they have authority to wing it on their own? I mean, how does pretty boy Whiskey Pete Cagseth get the idea, the bright idea, the genius idea, and it's never done before in history? It's so genius to fire top military people during a military conflict. I don't. I would think that would be when you would want your best minds and your most fit warriors, or infantrymen, whatever they're called. Listen, the one party in the relationship has moved on, and you don't have and you, meaning we, the American state, the United States, meaning the American farmers, we don't have any place else to. We don't have there's no other China for us to sell to. If China's doing business with Brazil for soybeans, then sorry, they're just more dependable than you are. And the world moves on. And while the world moves on, we're left swimming in the one of my friends, Wayne Luden, would call it the Drek-like remnantation of Trump's presidency. God, it hurts to say that. But, I see the guy, it was a clean election. He won. I'm as deeply hurt as I am, as deeply offended as I am. It's kind of what happened. And, at some point, there's not much to say, but suck it up and move on. And, you've got to realize that no matter what, time marches on. So, and time may not march on if you have our DemocracyRadioNetwork.com official coffee mug with Shout Louder, DemocracyRadioNetwork.com. You talk, and what do? We listen. And let's see here. And we're coming up on about 1 o'clock on the old straight up post noon time of Was it 150 something? I'm not a real surgically precise time guy. Uh, so guys, tell us what are you doing for Cinco de Mayo? Yeah, I'm not gonna, because it is a true patriotic holiday. Let's not make fun of it. And I've we've all done the old Cinco de drink and all that stuff. And there's clearly nothing wrong with an adult beverage or two. And the one thing I would ask everybody is please don't get a DUI. Please either call Uber or Lyft or somebody. Please don't get a DUI and please don't get hurt yourself, and please don't hurt anybody else drinking and driving. That's there was a time when when the risks weren't as great about having something negative come from your driving home, or your, as they used to say, one more for the road. Can you imagine? You get ready to leave the bar and the guy goes, "Hey." Guys, I have no idea what happened there. The screen just kind of went dark, and sorry about that. I had to go through some gyrations, but I'm back, and hopefully you hadn't gone any place. And hopefully maybe you'll even give us a call at 949-629-3820 and let us know how the Trump's administration has affected you. Let's see here. Beijing. Oh, this is great. Canada is pulling closer to Europe. Our best trading partners next door. And what have they done? There was a relationship. There were two people, and there are two parties in that relationship. There was the U.S. and Canada, boyfriend, girlfriend. They kind of got along great. And then what happened? Somebody picks a fight. And guess what? The couples break up. And then what happens? One of the couples moves on, like China did, and like Canada's doing with Europe. They're moving away from us. They're moving on from us. They are in a new relationship. They will prosper. Do you hear me? They will prosper. You were told all this by every reputable economist. And by the way, Peter Navarro is hardly a reputable economist. Between he and Art Laffer, I mean, they could, and they're just a laughing stock. But I digress. It's crucial to understand that. And if you understand that, you cannot be happy with that. And if you're not happy, then how in the world did you vote for a, a, a guy that's been convicted of fraud and has January 6th on his belt? And it's not like he's got, one or two fraud convictions under his belt. There's a 34 fraud count conviction. Every time he was on the stand, judge says, I do not find your testimony credible, which is code for you effing lying, you know? Um, you got sucked in, and you took the entire country down with you. And on some level, I know that, some white people were just never going to vote for, a woman of color. That kind of stuff still amazes me. I mean, didn't Barack Obama disprove like everything, all those thoughts? But what can you say? And like I said, they smeared Biden enough that, it was an imperfect storm, and we tried to sail through it with the best sailors we had, and it wasn't enough. So and unfortunately, we can't move on. We have no countries to move on to. The world was operating pretty well until this. Now, I'm not going to deny, Israel's just utter destruction in the Middle East. But, it's kind of awkward for the Israelis coming out of the Holocaust, finally having a new country, and then having every surrounding country want to annihilate you. So you can see how October 7th was, not really a good idea. That would, really impact the psyche of the Israelis. And truth of it is, the Palestinian leadership doesn't care. Just like the Iranian Revolutionary Guard doesn't care about civilians. They just, oops. They're just kind of an afterthought. They want the bigger picture. They want like Allah and the stairway and, the whatever other pleasures of the flesh they can't get down here that they have to kill for to get to heaven, where it's waiting. And of course, is that not like the biggest scam in the world? So, like I said, you get to, and like I said, there's some Iranians that are, they're like everybody else. There's good and bad in them all. There's good and bad in every group, and there may even be good and bad in everyone except the Pope and maybe a cardinal or two. I don't want to, we're not going to get into the choir war situation, but just out of curiosity, you go to church much? Are people talking about there? I'm sure it's affordability in some way. And if you talk about affordability in one way, you talk about unaffordability in lots of ways. Because when things get relatively unaffordable, you have to decide where what bills get paid, where your resources go. And things where people pressed pretty well before. I mean, I have no idea how people feed their families anymore. I just don't. I was waiting for my bagel to come out of the oven at the grocery store, and I walked in the back, and a bag of potato chips was like $6, and a pound of ground meat was like $10. I'm thinking this is for like a cookout. It seemed a little extravagant. And some people make good money and some people don't. Some people, with kids, I mean, what do they do? I can only hope what I really hope is that Democrats come back so strongly that the effects of these cuts will be minimal. We'll come up with a decent and fair tax system. Let's pay down this debt. Let's get some sort of national health care back. If it need, and Obamacare again was not perfect. The Republicans just hated the fact that that anybody gets anything for free. They think that everything ought to be bought and paid for. Well, yes and no. I can see somebody being made to you know, healthcare versus a car. I can see being made by healthcare. I can't see being made to buy a car. But again, you've got the orange tinged guy in the office who decides maybe he wants a car company to win that day. Maybe he'll say something nice about a green future. Or maybe he wants the old guys to win, which is why he's so anti green tech. And that's another thing. Haven't we proven this over and over and over again? I mean, the doubts are purely self-created, and they're all bullskate. We as being bullskated. I don't know. I'll have to conjugate the verb to bullskate, but we'll do that another time. But anyway, that's about the gist of things from the. Oh, but you know what? Also from the Times, I want to mention this. There was a huge editorial. America will pay the price for energy arrogance. And America always pays the price for its arrogance. And somehow or other, that orange tinged subhuman being doesn't seem to pay the price. Let's hope this time will be different, because it's his arrogance, it's not ours. I mean, I think most of us kind of knew that climate change was real, and that decreasing the carbon emissions was a really good thing to, have an atmosphere to live. That even if we were to colonize Mars, and let's not be that ambitious. What if we were, let's say colonize the moon? How long would that take? And like I said, that's pretty close. Mars is like, a long ways away, and especially when you're hauling. I know you're not hauling lumber and plywood, but to colonize suggests some sort of living quarters. So you'd be really interested to know exactly what the deal is. At least I would be. I tell you. Okay, so energy, arrogance, and and I see Americans always had that kind of arrogant attitude, and you would have to have somebody like that orange tinged subhuman being demonstrate. And how about this? I love this headline: SpaceX shares take off. Well, good. I don't. I see the future of American space industry as as almost a folly. It's we don't really what will we benefit by doing this? And there are always technological gains to be made, but sometimes it's just a matter of priorities. And isn't it better to offer health care to everyone than a space ride to two? And these things are just so hugely expensive. And but the good news is we've got a president who does not care. If it's for him or his, money is no object. If it's for a peasant and a loaf of bread, it's like, no, you can't have a quarter, you bum. So let's hope there's a little bit of karma at work on some level. We don't deserve this. As he SpaceX, and how about this is a good one. Trump's plan for the Strait of Hormuz, I kind of like that name, the Strait of Hormuz, leaves U.S. shipping firms, guess what? Unconvinced. They are unconvinced that the Strait of Hormuz is safe to travel. See, I think there's like, 130 something vessels in the area, and those vessels are pretty big, if you know what I mean. You don't know. That's not like a 14-foot sunfish vessel. This is like, a real vessel, a real tanker. So, so when Trump, he leaves the firms unconvinced, which is what? Uncertainty, right? And what do markets hate? Uncertainty. Now you can see where buyers and sellers appreciate what volatility does for the price of security. if you want a stock or bond to go up or down, let's see, depending on which side of the deal you have. Uh, Hang on. Oh yeah, no matter which side of the deal you're on, there'll be movement in the stock and a lot of movement because it's volatility, and you can measure stock's volatility index. But here's the sad truth of the matter is you got to have movement in the stock to generate gains or losses, right? And if you hang on. So anyway, while you want stocks to have some movement, usually if it moves slowly and steadily, there's that slow steady appreciation that everybody kind of goes for. But anyway, it's when prices move that profits are made or not made. So the volatility only helps if you're like really good and really well connected investor. And what really helps to be a really good investor is, I don't know, to be like the president's son or sons or relatives or Secretary of War. It's funny how those guys with the administration inside knowledge always seem to make out just in infinitely better than the regular guy. And when you say something, it's like, who, me? Like, yeah, pal, you. We saw the trade go in. It's all measured. We saw you bought it. We know you sold it, and we know what you made. And of course, it's when they start talking all over themselves, and it usually doesn't end pretty. Hang on, let's swallow this. I'm feeling pretty smart about now, not saving my coffee and drinking it now. That's sometimes I think that's the only way we make it till 2:00. It's always a test of my voice and willpower to see how far we make it. And you know what? Talking about that, I think that because I'm suffering so much for you guys, I think I deserve, and I'm sure you'll agree that this is clearly worth the price of admission. But if you're not, give us a call at 949-629-3820 and share what's going on in your life. So now we'll kind of move on to the Financial Times and see what's on their front page. Oh, and this was kind of related to the first one. Oh, but let me finish up one more thing. The New York Times the writers won 3 Pulitzer Awards. And for all you people that rail against those papers like the New York Times and all that, just stop it. Again, it's a lie. Their newspaper is great. Their articles are well vetted and well reviewed. Just quit calling them. Just quit calling them anything other than a great newspaper. That is the you can say the unofficial newspaper of the United States. All right, quit lying about it. Just can you guys just quit lying for a little bit? Highly doubtful. I always thought that if you could, then maybe you would, but I don't think that's proving to be very true. But what is proving to be very true is Putin hanging low. Putin laying low. Russia hadn't seen him, hadn't heard from him until fairly recently. And there's a reason. He's got a lot of people unhappy with him. Can you imagine the blood on that guy's hands? I mean, it would keep me awake. I would never be able to sleep again if I had that kind of blood on my hands. But what did Solomon say? If a few people is a catastrophe, a lot of deaths is a statistic or something like that. So anyway, I'm sure you get where I'm going with that. So anyway, things are kind of effed in the Middle East. Why, you may ask? Well, we can speculate. It seems to me as though things are effed in Venezuela. And if you were to ask me why, I would clearly have an opinion. And let's see, it looks like things are effed in Cuba. And if you were to ask me why, I would think that I would have a decent opinion. Let's see here. Oh, if you asked me about Greenland and things effed up there with a really great former ally, then I would have to say yes. And the reason I would say yes is the same reason George Washington said yes when asked if he cut down the cherry tree. He wasn't going to lie about it. You know, he was going to man up and take his punishment. And according to legend, was he like 7 when he did this? I mean, the guy had more integrity at 7 than the current president has ever had, much less at age 79. And I wish I could think of the opposite. Oh, I know. You know how they used to say, like, in the song, it's like number 1 with a rocket, or no, whatever's rocketing to the top. We need something that goes in the other direction. Maybe, maybe he's just fermenting badly inside. How about that? Yeah, he's definitely fermenting badly. God only knows in what. Can you imagine going your whole life without drinking? I mean, like once. I would hate to think about some of the finer points of education I would have missed if I was a non-drinker. We kind of temper that stuff now, and I would hope that everybody takes driving under the influence very seriously and doesn't do that. I was talking earlier about we used to be such a fun-loving nation. You're in a bar and you get ready to leave, and the bartender would offer you a drink for the road. Like, just in case you weren't drunk enough or you get behind the wheel of your 5,000-pound piece of metal, have one more. And those are, we all know that's a pretty gruesome way to go. So guys, call Lyft, call Uber, do anything, pass out in your car. I don't care. Just don't get the DUI. In California, it's, pretty commonly recognized that it will cost you at least $10,000. And, I think you still lose your license. It's just a bad deal. And, just, I just don't know what's so hard about not doing that. The downside is so hugely down, and the benefit is just negligible. So don't, even though it is Cinco de Mayo, and even though I appreciate a strawberry margarita as much as the next guy, it's not worth getting a DUI over. So I'm going to get off my soapbox and ask you to give us a call at 949-629-3820 and let us know what your plans are for Cinco de Mayo. Do you plan on a little Cinco de Drinko? Is there a really good little Mexican family restaurant you can recommend? A hole in the wall, the better. Nothing fancy. We just, we want to celebrate Cinco de Mayo with compatriots who still feel like they have a homeland in Mexico, because we're, in case you haven't noticed, we're not being particularly kind to immigrants, and we're not being particularly kind to other people in general. And let's say we're really not being kind to migrants or immigrants. And I eat at this place called La Lomita. It's at the Vista Center in 19th and Placentia in Costa Mesa. 2 or 3 doors down, I think 2, no. Anyway, maybe a door or 2 down from the famous Wayfarer in Costa Mesa. And I think they refer to the Wayfarer as a fine house of provisions, which I think that means like a bar with food. So check it out. I know they always have really good music if you know that kind of stuff. And the kids there seem to be pretty decent. They're not acting like they're hopped up on the goofballs or anything. Um, so all things considered. So anyway, as you celebrate Cinco de Mayo, whether it's with a Corona, Modelo, Pacifico, strawberry margarita, just tequila shots, I don't care. Whatever you do, just please try to do it at home or somebody's house, and don't drive. Uh, it's such a bad deal, and it's just so easy to avoid, and the penalty is so high. I guess that's that risk reward stuff you talk about. Yeah, the risk of something going wrong from driving under the influence is much greater than the reward you will get for driving under the influence. And when you look at it like that, you got to conclude I shouldn't drive under the influence. Even if I wanted to go to, a really cool little Mexican diner and imbibe a little. And so, what's your favorite Mexican place for Cinco de Mayo? Or are you a rebel? Do you go to like Muldoon's or on the Shamrock Irish Bar on on Cinco de Mayo? See, I can never be that much of a rebel. I would always have to go for the nice little Mexican dive place with the with beers, and that's beer, lime, and a good old shrimp taco, and Uncle Ab is pretty darn happy. So, and you know what else you might want to do is you might want to drop by the home page, democracyradionetwork.com. And when you see that PayPal donate button, you might just want to smash the living daylights out of that and send a little something because Uncle Ab needs a little car work done. So thanks, guys. Abbie Kaufman, 949-629-3820 here on the Abbie Kaufman Show live at the democracyradionetwork.com. Oh, excuse me. And, we're into local politics on, I just want to mention this kind of in passing that next week we will be chatting with Jason Byers, who's the first-time candidate for California District 47, which is like Coachella, Indio, I think, Cathedral City, out there. And I know for a fact that he is motivated to do something with this affordability crisis. So it'd be nice to hear exactly what he's got in store for us. And stay tuned, and we'll let you know a little bit more as to the exact date and time where you too can tune in and hear about Jason Byers from District 47. District 47. Okay. How about this? Now, Russia is losing the war to Ukraine, right? And why are the Russians losing the war in Ukraine? The same reason the U.S. sucks against Iran. Drone technology. We might be good at shooting down, big ships and big planes, all this stuff, but that fiber optic stuff, that's a little strange. We hadn't really gotten that down yet. And while the technology may not be perfect, it's or may not be refined, it clearly works in its current form. And I said when Zelensky offered Trump drone surveillance and drone technology help, I hope that Trump felt so low. I mean, this is an example of grace and gracious, and being shown to someone that has not one whit about what to do with it. So, and the truth about it, he might be down to his last half wit. I'd hate to think it's quarter wit, but even that might be a little generous these days. So yeah, Putin and the old drone technology. What's the UAE do? Yeah, the Emirates. Oh, they've been kind of depending on the Israelis, but I think this fiber optic drone stuff is still a challenge for the Israelis. That clearly exploits whatever holes there might be in the Iron Dome. And while you would think that Israel's probably kept improving it from year to year, I think this fiber optic technology is a game changer. I think if you really can blind Israel's Iron Dome, then you've got a better chance to destroy Israel than you have ever had before. Sure, I mean, those Scud missiles and all that were just like slow moving, clumsy, things. Try something a little fiber optic beam or cable or wire. It ain't that easy. And another thing is keeping in mind, I love this, that somewhere or sometime, sorry, I can't help but laugh at this, sometime after the Orange 10, some human being in the White House declared the Iranian nuclear facilities obliterated. Apparently, sometime after that, they found that, oops, there's some Iranian enriched uranium that's still unaccounted for, but we have a pretty idea where it is. And it is in a place where it is buried so deep we will never get to it. But you know who will? The Iranians. And why? Because they will outlast us. They have every incentive to outlast us. And deep down, they have the means to outlast us. A lot of people are dumping money in there, because they don't, they're not really into the American kids. But like it or not, we're kind of here. So you got to pay attention to us. Oh, let's see, what time is it getting to be? Oh gosh, can you believe we're coming up on 1:30 on Cinco de Mayo Tuesday, May the 5th? I can. It seems like this is kind of blown on by. Which is why I have my official DemocracyRadioNetwork.com mug with the official Shout Louder, You Talk and We Listen, what was that? Slogan. Just in case you were wondering about that. So let's see here. Iran warns U.S. not to enter Hormuz Strait, and launches drones at the Emirates. It's just pathetic. It was all foreseeable, and it was all laid out, and you were too ignorant to pay attention to it. You really suck. Anyway, and how about this? Now the ceasefire is under strain, right? But what does that mean? Trump says we're ceasing hostilities, or hostilities have ceased. Well, I don't think that's a definition of the end of a war, or the definition of peace, or anything like that. To me, that's a symbol that they're going to take a stand with them. Israel is going to. Israel won't take much of a toll on the UAE, so the Iranians will. I mean, at this point, we can't. Whatever move we make is a bad one. Leave early, bad move. Leave late, bad move. Stay, bad move. It's just in the old decision tree, you keep coming up with negatives. And I said the really disgusting part is the way the administration twists the negatives into the positives. Like Jim Comey with Seychelles in 8647, which 86 can mean God knows what. 86 the order, 86 the beer. Whatever it is. And how these guys prove a specific threat is beyond me. I think it's pretty well established that the only way these guys get the grand jury indictments is by faithfully leaving out anything exculpatory. If it helps you or makes sense, despite it, even and particularly if it undermines our claim for you, guess what? You ain't gonna show it. Nobody's gonna see it. It's just a really awkward thing when the rules get changed, and a country that's known for fairness and that even has the phrase traditional fundamental notions of justice. We kind of know what that is, but that's not exactly what we're getting. So okay, and how about this? This was in the front. There were three headlines on the Financial Times front page. The first one was drone threat. Putin surfaces after laying low, a little afraid of a coup or assassination. Uh, then you have Iran warns the U.S. not to enter the Straits of Hormuz. And then this is the third one, and then this is interesting. Peter Thiel dives into data centers powered by ocean waves as early AI energy needs accelerate. Think about that. Out in the ocean, powered by waves. No, that sounds pretty green to me, doesn't it? I mean, it sounds like a really cool idea. I don't, I'd like to hear, of course, an you know, environmental impact report, but I'm curious enough to want to know more. Um, obviously, no one's crazy about those things, and and the question of, well, can they be anyplace else on Earth? And to realize the power of the oceans, that's pretty awesome. I mean, I don't sail offshore a lot anymore, but trust me, there's a lot of energy in the ocean. And when a squall kicks up, oh my God, I mean, there's a lot of energy. And let's hope there's a way to do this. And I had also hoped that there was a way to utilize all the energy produced by people at the gym, because there's just a boatload of people sweating it out in my gym. And I would like to think we could use that for something. But what's the thing? If wishes were horses, beggars would be riders. And of course, I would much rather ride than walk. So anyway, give us a call, 949-629-3820. And, I said, tell us what's going on. What would you like to see? What would you like to not see? What do you think of some of these local races? Are you into the school board races, or do you even get that into it? I really like paying attention to the school board races, because if there's a group of people that have ever had influence, it's those guys. I mean, if you want to go to public schools, then they make the rules. And the truth of the matter is, public schools have gotten, private schools have gotten really expensive. I don't know if many religious afternoon or religious academic schools are completely free, but you would hope they would be. And to have this Republican attack on the poor is so at odds with basic Christianity that again, when you look at both sides, and you have to ask yourself who's lying or who's more likely to be lying, the answer is always obvious. And they always try to tell you that it's raining, when in reality he's peeing on your leg. As charming an analogy as that is. I don't know about you, but I try to not let that happen very often. So anyway. Back to the Financial Times. And there's something, guys, I do all this for you. So you don't have to, you be able to pick up the highlights that you want and go right to them. This is another good one. Western nations on high alert after Tehran targets opponents abroad. And how are they targeting their opponents abroad? Guess what? I don't think they fly from like Tehran International. You know what they're doing? They're talking to people that are already there. How about, could you handle a suicide bombing on a New York subway? Think about that. Or, what if there were coordinated attacks on New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles and San Francisco uh, subways at the same time. Can you imagine? And it can be done so easily. Will they do it? Yeah, you'd almost have to bet that way. So, uh, you know, Trump's made a dangerously unstable world even more unstable and even more dangerous. And, ordinarily that would be hard to do. But, the fact of the matter is the guy's just abrasive and antagonistic and nobody likes him. And not only does nobody like him, but without power, they don't. Oh, I'm tell you, I don't think people ever respected him. They might have feared him, but you don't respect a human being like that. You don't respect someone that closes a clinic in a rural town for any reason, much less the pettiness shown. Uh, it's anyway. I don't want to be even more negative than I am now, but God damn, he does that to me. So anyway, the proxies for revenge. Oh, and how about this? Saudi Arabia has a new place called Neon Port, I think. And why do they have their own little thing? Oh, maybe so they can avoid the Strait of Hormuz. Sound like a good idea. Yeah, I think everybody's pretty ticked about the Strait of. Well, there are like 130 ships backed up in there. So once again, what do we say? Thanks, Donald. You worthless POS. Okay, how about this? Heat pump sales surge on rising fossil fuel prices. Thanks, Donald. Tariff refunds not going well, particularly for small businesses. Thanks, Donald. Putin hunkers down. Yeah, we get that. Uh, and how about this? Some crypto venture sues a backer for fraud. Now, how can that be? In cryptocurrency, there's fraud, and there's fraud in the Trump administration. Oh, heavens to Betsy! I don't know what to say. That can't be true. St. Donald, crooked? No, you moron. He's more crooked than you'll ever know. So you just might want to pay attention and wake up before it gets absolutely positively too late. And it's you're in luck because it's absolutely positively not too late here at democracyradionetwork.com, the Abbie Kaufman Show, to give us a call and check in. Let us know what's going on in your world. What's the latest outrage or outrageous prices you've seen? I don't, there are a lot of things, a whole lot of us use to the degree we need, like gasoline and food and clothes and all that. But guys, you just suck. That's just, we can't keep on like this. We really do need competent employees back. And, again, you're just an ignoramus. There's no other word for you. You're just a dumbass. For some reason, I always get enjoyment calling somebody a dumbass, and when it's true, it's even better. But let's see kind of what else we got here. Crypto. Oh, how about that? There's a fertilizer maker in the Gulf, Fertilink or something like that. Okay. And Fertilink, it seems like, is having trouble shipping their stuff by boat or tank or container ship, whatever they are. So what does he do? How do they start getting the stuff delivered? How does the big old boat shipping company get stuff delivered when there's may or may not be a big old boat around? Well, you can stay tuned if you like, and we'll just kind of speculate and tease you with the answer. And the only reason we do that is because it is approaching 1:40 here at the democracyradionetwork.com. This is your host, Abbie Kaufman, and we are broadcasting, if you can believe this, yet again from our secret location on Newport Harbor in Newport Beach, California. And I don't know if anybody is a member, but just across the harbor is the American Legion. And I'm not a member of that American Legion, even though I think it's post 291 on the peninsula, and they actually have their own little yacht club. And I'm not a member of the yacht club, but I was able to join the yacht club, the Sons of the American Legion. That's right. And so at first I went to go join the Sons branch over here in Newport, and they said I couldn't join because I wasn't my father wasn't a member. So okay, I get it. Even though they have 7,000 members, we'll just kind of discount that to you. So anyway, so I call a friend of mine who was a chaplain for the American Legion. I have no idea how I came to know a chaplain. But anyway, he told me to try Santa Ana branch. So I drove to the Santa Ana branch and finally got to talk to somebody there, and they don't have a meeting thing anymore. Okay, it happens. So then, where do I go? Well, I went to the city of Orange and showed them my father's paperwork from the Korean conflict, and was able to join the Legion there. And I want to say it was like $20 or $30 a year, something like that. And here's the funny part. I couldn't join the American Legion 291 in Newport because my father wasn't a member there. Okay. And it's like, $50 a year or something. Now, joining through the Sons of the American Legion at Orange, and my membership fee was like $20. And then I am notified that, I can transfer my membership to Post 291 for the low price of like $100 or something. So for 5 times as much, I can join the actual post. And I'm inclined just to leave things as it is for right now. At least until some of this uncertainty settles down. When you've got an unstable nut, you generally don't find mental instability, and nut cases go hand in hand. And I think we both know where we are with that. So, not to beat this to death too much, but guys, I cannot suggest strongly enough you take the time to join your local Democratic club or check in, go to a meeting, stuff an envelope, stuff something, I don't care. But let's get active locally at the grassroots level and work our way through the system, electing Democrats to every position they have. I say, I don't care if it's the assistant to the assistant dog catcher. We want a Democratic assistant to the assistant dog catcher. We want an assistant dog catcher that's Democrat, and we want the dog catcher to be Democrat. And I know you're seeing the pattern here, right? Damn, and nothing but damn. So help me. Sound like a little, kind of courtroom thing, but you guys get what I mean. It's. Like I said, we're here in Southern California, and it really is tough to imagine what's going on in DC and how complicit the Republicans are. I mean, they just refuse to do anything. They've got one of their guys committing crimes. It's like, we don't care. You would think they would stop Trump in the name of honesty and decency, but you know what? They don't care. They're rolling their dice with him one way or the other. I really don't get how that stuff sells in the midterms. I mean, how exactly does a congressman go home and ask for your vote when he's closed your hospital, taken away your reproductive health care, It made things more expensive generally. I mean, why do you vote for the guy? Every reputable economist in the world said Trump's policies, economic policies, would lead to stagflation, which is a range-bound stock market and high unemployment. And the unemployment figures are just starting to come in. And don't forget, we are in like the first trimester of AI infancy. I don't really know where this goes, but I'm betting that a lot of people are going to spend a lot of money so they don't have to pay people. I mean, AI is just a hugely valuable tool. It's like, it's not unlike a lot of other things. It's so powerful, you really have to respect it. And by it, I mean what it can do for good and for bad. It's just a different kind of world. You have to make sure the data that's entered is absolutely flawless. And I see, just because the search engine recognizes a flub, that doesn't necessarily always follow the suggested correction is okay. And if you guys are going to use AI at all, try to use it on subjects you know something about, because they get it wrong so often that you need to be able to call AI out on it. Even Claude, my favorite, gets some things wrong. I use Google's Anthropic. I use Gemini. I use Gemini, Claude from Anthropic. Those are my three big ones. I tried Chat GPT early on and just wasn't that impressed. Oh, excuse me. So I'm kind of a big fan of Anthropic, and they get my vote for now. I wish they could get my money, but instead of that, I'll just have to give them my subtle endorsement. And subtle endorsements are what we do best here. And if you have a candidate you'd like us to talk to, please give us a call at 949-629-3820, or send us an email, united@democracyradionetwork.com, and we'll do our best to get in touch if we can get your favorite person or your suggested person on the air, and let others know what kind of person is running for this office. I'm convinced that voters are engaging now like never before. Now, the sad thing is they're engaging like never before because things have never gotten this bad before. But at least it doesn't look like things are going to be swept under the rug. I'm pretty confident that when Democrats get in office, I'm pretty sure that George Conway is going to lead an investigation into the financial grifting at the White House and see about jail time. Again, it's what the facts would call for. Oh, should we let you go with 400 mil because you're old? Well, I don't think so. First thing you need to do is give back that 400 mil or just divest yourself. And that's just for starters. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you can't believe that old coffee tastes so good still. So in that case, I have to give a shout out to the Fashion Island Starbucks that has, I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of Starbucks have baristas, right? Well, my Starbucks at Fashion Island, we have, get ready for this, we have barista goddesses. And they do an incredible job every day. I'm there almost every morning with my bagel and coffee. And they're always there with a pleasant smile and something hot or cold to drink, depending on the day. And they do a lot toward getting my day off on a really good start. I try to get up early and head to the gym and sit in a super hot sauna for 20 minutes or so, longer if I can. it makes your heart rate go up, and I usually not into that whole endorphin thing, but it's okay in the morning. It really does help me charge and helps me think a little more clearly and get my day, get as much out of the day as I possibly can. So, let's say if you're up to that, do it. Saunas in the morning work wonders. But let's say after the sauna, as I'm on my way from 24-hour fitness at Huntington and Magnolia in Newport back to Starbucks at Fashion Island, where my barista goddesses are just waiting for me. And like I said, they do such a good job of, making things better in the morning that I think they deserve a shout out. Whether it's the Prez or Alea or Ruby or Lucy or Gabe or David or Eric or, Abby, Maddie, um, you know, everyone's just really super. So anyway, you guys get the old Uncle Ab shout out. Oh yeah, I didn't realize we got Abby from me and Abby at Starbucks. Well, trust me, you won't confuse the two of them. She's, substantially younger and substantially more attractive than I will ever be. So anyway, Ab, well, special tip of the hat to you and the Prez. The Prez is a barista goddess named Kennedy. And after she tells me, I meet her and she's telling me her name is Kennedy, I'm like, no. You are the Prez. We're going to call you the Prez. So that's her nickname now is Prez. And Prez always kind of likes it when I give her a special shout out on the show. So Prez, this one's for you. And for you at home, how about this? How about if you give us a call at 949-629-3820 and let us know what's going on? What kind of effects are you having? How about your kids? Are you going to give them vaccines? Are you going to, how do you feel about that whole Robert F. Kennedy health secretary? I used to think that it was just a malicious rumor that a worm ate, like half his brain or something. But I don't think that's a rumor. I'm pretty sure that's, I'm willing to give that one the whole factual benefit of the doubt. And, it's always the case that, the sins of one generation are never vested until the next generation or maybe the next and the next. So every little bit of poison that Trump spews, it's got to be dealt with. And, the best way to deal with a liar is call him a liar. Make him prove his position. Now, his followers probably will never accept that, but you do it anyway. It's the good fight. It's calling the liar to account. And, that's, and what happens if we don't call the liar to account? Well, the obvious answer is that if you don't call the liar to account, then his account gets taken as real. And once the account is real, then you have a distorted view of history. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is as dangerous as anything. People have perverted the past to justify wars in the present ever since. And, in the time we just stop that, haven't things gotten so expensive that shouldn't we just be able to live kind of in peace? And I'll be the first one to admit it. Things weren't terribly peaceful before, Russia invaded Ukraine. But, we had a system that hung together, that was so tenuous, but it hung together. And I always make the analogy to the Jenga game, where you try to pull out the superfluous or the surplus pieces of wood until you pull the piece out that collapses the structure. And and Trump kept pulling pieces of wood out, and guess what? The structure is collapsing, and we are here in real time on Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, to say enough. stop it. No more lying. That's like that's kind of like no more breathing. But everybody's just tired of this, and everybody sees through this. My real question is what is Trump being told? Is he being told, oh, everything's hunky dory? It wouldn't surprise me. But then again, whenever someone decides to tell the truth to Trump, it's always at your own peril. I said the bottom line is America had a choice. You had a choice between a smart ass frat boy or the smartest girl in the class. And who'd you choose? The dumbass frat boy. And it's funny, dumbass frat boys hardly ever turn into like business geniuses. And the ones that do turn into business geniuses are probably not the ones that went bankrupt owning a casino. I mean, doesn't that bit of financial acumen just say it all? Just like my opinion on January 6th. What else would someone have to do to disqualify themselves from the presidency? I mean, if that wasn't enough for you to disqualify that orange tinged subhuman being from being the president, then what is? I mean, would he have to, I don't know, kill somebody? Well, you guys probably claim self defense, so that might not work. And, I said the fact of the matter is, there's a reason they call it the big lie. And furthermore, I think that anytime someone is called before the Senate to testify, whether it's for a confirmation hearing or what, if asked who won the 2020 presidential election, if the answer is not Joe Biden won the 2020 election, then they're automatically disqualified from office. Why? Because they denied the truth. If you deny the truth, then you admit falsity. Think about that. If you deny the truth, you admit the falsity. And I'm sure as I say that, you get the message exactly how this has been carried out. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up here in a few minutes, and I want to make my usual plea that we are in an all hands on deck drill. I mean, the sun might be shining, it might be a beautiful day on the water, but the fact of the matter is, it's not a very beautiful day as it stands now. And just to see if I can check this really quickly, I'm kind of curious. I was curious about the stock market, but it went up today, and I said with the uncertainty, there's going to be up and down in movement in the stock. I'm just not sure which direction. Guys, we just have to pull ourselves out of this one element at a time. The future, from my perspective, is really overwhelming. We've got serious problems and no serious leaders. And we're the U.S. So somehow we have come to be ruled by a bunch of liars. And, it'd be bad if I did that. And, I think the States deserves better. I think we were founded on principles that are a little more enduring than, grab what you can get. And if that's not the Trump ethos, I don't know what is. Grab what you can get. And otherwise, what? That's kind of like, well, we have to nail down the furniture so these guys don't take it. That's exactly what it is. If things aren't nailed down in the White House, they ain't gonna be there. And what's worse is they won't be there, and the guy will sell it as a trinket. Oh, guys, what are we gonna do? Well, for right now, let's take a long, hard breath. Let's concentrate on organizing and turning out the vote and helping elect Democrats all over any place, anywhere, anytime. Even if they're not your favorite Democrat, vote for them. This is another one of those Benjamin Franklin times where if we don't hang together, we'll all hang separately. And I would much prefer, to hang together. Hanging separately doesn't particularly thrill me. So, guys, on that cheerful note, my throat's getting kind of sore. And it's like at the 2-hour mark, and excuse me, I want to live to talk another day. So this is your semi-savvy or your somewhat semi-savvy, politically minded host, Abbie Kaufman, here on the Democracy Radio Network at the AbbieKaufmanShow.com. And we'd like to invite you to join us and give us a call. Let us know what's going on, 949-629-3820. Email us at united at democracyradionetwork.com. And guys, we'll just look forward to chatting with you at your convenience. And you know what they say, Roger Wilco over and